Hey everyone, it's Bodie Morningway here from Quantum Comics. So, this pandemic, huh? It has been unbelievable. Now, I know that, of course, everybody is sick of all the pandemic talk, I included. However, this has really affected all of us and very close to home. As far as this particular home away from home for me, um, as it turns out that Diamond Comics distribution, which is the main and really only source of comic book distribution for all of North America, has stopped ordering new comic books. So, what that means, unfortunately, effective immediately, there are, after this week, going to be no new comic books for at least a month or two. Now, that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of us, especially me, because not only is it my livelihood, but it's really been my life for a very long time. And aside from the holiday season, Xmas time, there has not been anything like this for, unless I'm mistaken, 100 years ish, somewhere in there. Comic books have been around a long time and they've been a part of everyday life for so long. They've reflected everyday life, like almost a fun kind of mirror, like a carnival mirror, if you will. And it's always been a doorway into an enchanted realm of fun, fantasy, superheroics, crazy inane action, comedy, everything. But I am not going to sit here and cry in my coffee. Instead, I'm going to enjoy this coffee. I'm going to enjoy this coffee and comic books. And in fact, I think I might just create a little segment, much like this: Quantum Comics, Coffee and Comic Books. What do you guys think? Anyways, it's just a working title, right? But I'd like to highlight the fact that comics are an amazing medium. It's an escape from everything. It's an escape, and it's a healthy escape. It stimulates your mind, it stimulates your imagination, it can change your mood into a much better thing if you've had a down day and you read some incredibly awesome comic book. Oh, I don't know, like let's say Detective Comics, for example, or an X-Men comic. Any one of a number, thousands of titles. And even though we are not having new comics per se, we have decades upon decades of amazing stories, both the soft cover, regular size issues. Back there, you can see numerous trade paperbacks of amazing stories, all to help you guys get through this nasty time period. Because you know what? That's going to help me get through it as well. And I want to share that with all of you. So, let's start off with a little bit of a story. I'm sure I've told this one before, but it's a fun one. Back when I first started collecting comics, it was very difficult to find an actual comic book store. In fact, I did not even know that comic book stores existed until almost my teens, I would say. The only places that I actually found comic books were at the corner drugstore, like Max, and there was a place called Red Rooster. I don't know if anybody actually remembers that place, but it was very much the same vein, right? There was also drugstores. I remember there was one close to my house. It was actually right close to the Red Rooster convenience store as well. I think it was called Baydella or something bizarre like that. And they had a really good selection of comic books and magazines. I remember getting this one issue, and it was Fantastic Four number 249. It was the first time I'd ever seen the Shi'ar Gladiator. And he, of course, took apart the Fantastic Four, and the issue ended on a cliffhanger with members of the X-Men coming in to join the fray. So you've got, and also not just the X-Men, but also it eventually comes with Captain America and Daredevil. They get in on it as well. So there's this big climax of the issue. But of course, I had to wait to try to get number 250. And back then, it was a little bit different. I had no idea when new comic books came in. And depending on the ordering schematics of the drugstore or the local convenience store, you had absolutely no idea when or if they would even order those same issues, because they didn't always order the same issues, right? At least it seemed like that to me. I don't have actually any idea what their ordering schemes were. But I could not find this Fantastic Four number 250 for so long, and it was agonizing. I loved the first part to this, but I was desperate for the second part. And as it happened, one weekend, my parents dragged me to these friends of theirs' places. And I really couldn't stand these folks because they had no kids. So there was not a whole lot for me to do. And they had these two annoying poodles, which just drove me insane. But we stopped at a convenience store on the way, and this was on the other side of the city. And as it happened, I always mosey towards the comic book section. Peeking through it, not necessarily expecting to find anything, but then, suddenly, boom, there it was. This issue that I have been looking for forever, at least in my little kid's mind, it was years. It was probably just a few weeks, but for me it was years. And there it was. It was practically glowing in front of me like a beacon, like the Holy Grail. I begged my parents to get this for me, and they did. And that was the best trip that I ever had to these people's places. I don't even remember the people's names. Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to the story, really, other than the fact that the destination was there, and it was because of that I got that issue. I must have read it 3 or 4 times in that one sitting, happy as a clam. And to this day, that is the story and the moments that I always think about when I think about how much I love comic books. But tune in future days, possibly as early as tomorrow, for some more coffee and comic books. So long, Space Cowboys.